So the artist that I chose is again Ralph McQuire. He's the concept artist. He's a concept artist and illustrator for famous movies. But his main thing was doing the matte paintings and acrylic paintings and oil paintings for the Star Wars movies. So he did concept art for the way that it would look. He told George Lucas that he would create the illustrations the way that he saw Star Wars. But he had the way that he made it, he didn't think that Lucas would be able to do it because it was just too expensive. But lo and behold, he did, and a lot of what Ralph did is the way that we see Star Wars. Is the way that we see Star Wars today. One of my favorite paintings of his is a painting of it's a matte painting of the Millennium Falcon being pulled into the Death Star by a tractor beam, and it is a POV, so it's point of view. So it looks like the way that the angle is. It looks like that you are on the ground as one of the Imperial soldiers watching the Millennium Falcon move by, and it's really cool because that kind of thing was not really very prevalent in movies or even in art, because you don't really see the scale of things and how big it is. One example of how perspective is used very well is in the Pacific Rim movies. So giant robots beating the crap out of each other, a boy's dream. But the way that it's shot from the ground, so it's shot looking up at these giant robots, and you can really see the scale of how big they are. Contrast that with something like Transformers, where the camera is up, it's looking in all these different directions. You don't really get a sense of how big it really is. But Ralph decided in this painting to paint it from a point of view perspective. You can see a giant gun, a giant turret. It's kind of like right there in center view. It's really clear and really crisp. At least the front of it. As you move down to the side, it gets blurry. And you can see a little farther out is another turret, and you see some soldiers, and then even farther out you see the Millennium Falcon getting pulled into the Death Star, and you see all these things, and it gives you a grandiose picture of what the Empire really looks like, and it's and the style of it is really futuristic, but it's also kind of grounded. So it's like this is what the future will look like, but it's not sci-fi. It's a little bit more grounded, a little bit more realistic, and so that's part of what made Star Wars so cool and so a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and Ralph McQuire greatly contributed to that because he did the actual matte painting that ended up in the movie. The painting that I'm speaking on is a concept painting, but he did the actual painting that ended up in the movie. And so what he did, it was tremendous in the creation of these films. And these films ended up having a unimaginable impact on culture through the 70s, through the 80s, all the way through. I would even throw the prequels in there. They're not on the same level, but they as well were birthed out of the original trilogy, and the original trilogy looks the way it does because of Ralph McQuire. And it's really cool to see how one man impacted culture and the way that people thought for generations to come. Like, I'm 20. I was born 30 years after the original Star Wars, and here I am talking about it because it had an amazing impact on me years and years later. And it's really cool to see